Good morning, all of you out there in YouTube. I never know what to say after that. Like land.
It's got to be land.
Villa.
It's got to be land.
Christmas is over. We are marching on to 2023. This is our last podcast episode of the year.
That is insane. How is that even possible? It went really, really fast.
What's crazy is to think about the podcast is getting ready to turn 3 years old.
Aww.
So just in the toddler stage, we're still fumbling and bumbling around trying to figure this world out, but having a good time with it. Hope you had a great Christmas holiday season. You might have had some dust-ups in your family, some issues that arise, and that's kind of what we want to talk about today is having your spouse's back. And because sometimes you spouses and in-laws and all that just don't get along. So we gotta have this discussion.
The real problem is people. People are the problem.
Oh yeah. Anytime you have any sort of relationships, there's going to be issues.
Yeah.
So
it's just tough.
The important thing is prioritizing the right relationships and having proper boundaries, which we've talked about boundaries before. Mm-hmm. But sometimes family members don't respect, and not just family members, sometimes people just don't respect your boundaries. So you have to do the right thing. You have to stand up for your spouse. So we are also looking for podcast episode ideas for 2023.
Yes.
We're getting started. We've already started putting together a topic list.
I just received a text that was a podcast suggestion for next year. I forgot to tell you about it, but it's a good one. So we've got...
What is it?
It is about finding your worth in Jesus and believing that you are valuable to God.
Nice.
And like how that comes into play in relationships. And I'm like, yeah, that'd be really good.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, me too. I'm excited about that one.
You ready to get started for today?
I am. I'm ready to go. I have only drank like 2 drinks of coffee and I'm like kind of out of it right now. So I need to start chugging.
You know you can't keep that coffee on the table.
Are you worried about electronics?
Yes.
How's this? Do you feel safer?
I do not.
It's got a lid.
Well, and here's the thing. Yeah, but there's still holes in the top. So last night we're getting ready for bed. We're getting ready to go into bed.
You got to tell this.
I do.
Okay.
Because I want them to understand, like, I'm not just being cruel, not letting you have your coffee on the table like I'm some tyrant. Like, this is a legitimate concern around here because she carries around this cup. Where's it? I know the water cup's got to be right there. Let's see it.
The water cup.
So she has this water cup, and it does not, when it has a straw in it, it doesn't seal. Mm-hmm. And so she always has the straw in it. It's never sealed. Mm-hmm. We're getting ready for bed last night. I'm using the restroom, and all of a sudden I hear crash, boom, pop, ice everywhere. And
water.
Ice and water. She dumped all over the bedroom floor.
And myself. It like got all over me and the bedroom floor. It was a huge mess. And we were just ready to go to sleep.
So there's a legitimate reason why I say she can't have beverage. I don't put my beverages on the table here either.
I'm a little clumsy.
We have side tables. You can't see them on the video, but we have side tables just off screen. And so we have a place to put them.
I will not put my coffee on the table.
But I don't put my drink there either.
Okay. I will behave.
This is all expensive equipment that you don't want to have to replace because of a coffee spill.
I do not. Okay, I've got it in my lap.
Perfect. Now, are you ready?
Are you ready?
Let's get ready to podcast.
Okay.
Gather around, everybody. It's time for a family meeting. The family meeting is a show that's all about family relationships. Familia, really.
Mia familia.
We're the Osterkamps. I'm Thomas. This is my wife, Clumsy.
Hello and welcome to our family. Welcome to episode 118 of the Family Meeting Podcast. On today's episode, we're going to talk about 8 ways to show your spouse, hey, I've got your back.
You do have my back, and I've got your back.
That's
now,
right.
Before we jump into this back-protecting episode, we are in the last week of our 31 Days to a Better Marriage Challenge. So if you've not jumped in yet, all 28 days so far are in the group. we're going to have some other things going on. Other family-related content is being posted there as well. From time to time, we'll drop some other challenges. I already got a challenge in mind, a steamy challenge in mind for February. So jump on into the Facebook group and see what's going on. Today's challenge was to do one activity that your spouse thinks is fun. So let them choose whatever the activity was.
I know what we're going to be doing.
Yes, you do. We are going to be watching TV. I don't know what you are trying to associate with,
I
but
love you. Yeah. You know what we're going to be doing for my fun thing is taking a walk. No phones.
I thought you meant cleaning or fixing something, but we already did that this week. We did that yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday was a fabulous day. It was so fun. We got a lot of cleaning and fixing and...
Got your Christmas present hung.
Which is
I talked about last week,
beautiful.
the Christmas present. It is a huge canvas.
Yes.
It's like a wood pole and it's got the directional signage on it, but instead of directional signs, it's each of our names with the ocean in the background.
And I love it, love it, love it.
So we put it going up our stairs.
Yeah, we have like this huge landing wall area on our stairs that has never had anything on it since we moved. And I was kind of like trying to decide what to put there. And he knows me so well. That's the thing is like he's amazing at giving gifts when he thinks about it. Because you will know that I want something when I don't know I want something.
Yeah.
And it's awesome.
Well, I just kind of like, I think she would really love that. So I'll drop a picture of that hung on our Facebook page, so you can check that out.
Yesterday.
But
yeah, we've gotten a lot done, and Christmas time can be a tough time. Like as far as you're getting together with possibly both in-laws. Some families, like it's your mom and dad, my mom and dad, my sisters and brothers, your sisters and brothers, and we're all together in the same house, cousins, extended families, and a lot can happen in a couple hours.
Oh, most definitely.
With all that.
Most definitely.
And it can be really like, people's feelings can get hurt and damage can be done for a long time.
So because of that, we're going to discuss 7 ways to show your spouse you have their back.
Yes. And this is our last podcast episode in 2022. So what we want to encourage you to do is use this time to evaluate whether or not you have had your spouse's back this year. Pause and reflect. Have you put your trust in someone and then when it came time and you really needed them, it felt like they weren't there for you? It's a terrible feeling.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, and so we need to make sure that we never make our spouse feel that way. We need to think about this. What have I done this past year? When you and your spouse walked down the aisle, you made your vows, you said I do. One thing that you were saying is, I've got your back. But do you?
And you think about those traditional vows. Okay, so as a pastor, I get the blessing and the privilege of officiating people's weddings. Mm-hmm. So people do their different things for vows. These are the traditional vows. And it's I, Thomas, take thee, Lysandra, to be my wedded wife, to have and to hold from this day forward, for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health, to love and to cherish till death do us part. And that's what we promise. Now, if you've been married as long as we are, that was the vows you said, because, I don't know, it seemed like more people back then did traditional vows. Yeah,
now everybody's writing their own vows, which sounds really cool, but also a lot of pressure. Like, I don't know, I'd feel like, what do you choose out of all the stuff that you want to promise your spouse? Like, what do you choose? Yeah, it'd be tough.
But you're promising to have and hold, to love and cherish. In promising these things, you're promising no matter what happens in life, money, poverty, illness, or health, you're going to have your spouse's back. And sometimes we lose sight of that. And sometimes we think we're doing a good job of it, and we aren't. So, as we mentioned, here are 7 ways to show your spouse you have their back. And as you're making your way into 2023, we want you to kind of revow
I like
that you're gonna have your spouse's back in these situations. So let this be an evaluation form for yourself. Let this be a list a checklist for you rather than making a checklist for your spouse.
Yes.
So once again, these episodes are never meant to be a weapon used against your spouse.
Right.
They are meant to be something to help you work on yourself.
And I type the podcast notes here, and I have to let you know that there's a typo. It's 8 points, not 7. But it is not Thomas's fault. It is mine.
Oh, so there's a bonus.
It's a bonus. Secret number 8. Okay. But let's start at number 1, shall we?
No.
Okay.
I would like to start at number 8.
No, thank you.
And work our way backwards.
Number 1, stand up for them. That seems so simple. It is not always so simple.
It's not.
Because sometimes we understand that there are going to be times when you and your spouse disagree. It's going to happen.
No, it isn't. We never disagree.
Yeah, we do disagree,
No, we
babe.
don't.
Honey, we do.
We don't.
We're disagreeing right now.
No, we're not.
Okay.
I could do this all day.
He is disagreeable. He really is.
I could do this all day.
Yeah, I know you could. And I live with you, and it's awful. But there are times that you disagree.
You just said living with me is awful.
I have no amendment to make to my statement.
Okay. Just checking. I want to make sure everybody out there heard that.
Everybody out there is like, yeah, we get it. Sorry, Lysandra. Okay, so when it happens, when you disagree, here's what you're going to do. Present a united front. You're going to have your spouse's back. And then in private, discuss the reasons why you disagree with them in a loving, gentle way. And we have a whole podcast episode on how to bring up these conversations to your spouse. The episode number, I cannot remember, so you're just going to have to listen to 117 episodes to find that episode. But it's in there.
Or you can just go to familymeeting.org, click on podcast. There's 2 different podcasts to select from. So Lysandra does Everyday Christian Mom. And then, of course, we have Family Meeting. So hit Family Meeting. That'll bring you to a page that has all the episodes on it. So you can just kind of scroll through and find that episode pretty quickly if you want to figure out and dive into having those conversations. Mm-hmm. But let's just put it into some scenarios here so we can kind of talk through, because it's one thing to say it. It's another thing to kind of think through what are some different scenarios. So maybe your spouse is enforcing a consequence to your children. Side with your spouse. It's as simple as that. Side with your spouse. And we've had to do this. We've done this before, where Lysandra has maybe said this is what a consequence is going to be for a certain action, and I is to my recollection, I just sided with you, what you said, and then later on when we were alone in our bedroom, we had a conversation that said, I think that was a little harsh. And so rather than like coming at Lysandra right there in front of our kids, I waited. And it didn't harm anything to wait, because then Lysandra could go back and say, hey, you know what? I think I was a little harsh. And instead of this, we're going to do this.
Right. And then I change the consequence. Thomas doesn't change it. I change it after having talked it through.
So we're not making the kids side with one, like me over her. She had the interaction with the child that we felt, especially after talking it through together, that we felt was a little harsh. Now she's able to go make it right, versus I'm this hero who swoops in and she's the bad guy, the villain.
I'm always the villain in this house, though.
Yeah, because you're the one who you're just around the kids a lot more than I am, and working with them a lot more. So, but that's one of those scenarios. Okay, so we had this situation come up the other day. Your spouse is telling your child to do something, and a grandparent disagrees with your spouse. What are you going to do? Because that's your parents, right? You need to stand up for your spouse. Don't just let it go. Speak up. And if you're unwilling to speak up for your spouse, you're sending the message to your spouse that you don't have their back.
Yeah. And okay, all right, listeners, YouTube viewers, listen up to this. Don't you think it's super weird that the same parents who raised you will see you enforcing a rule or expecting a behavior out of your child and step in and say, oh, they're okay, leave them alone. Or, oh, they don't need to do that, they're tired. What is that about? It's like, you would never let me get away with that when I was a kid, but here you are defending my child?
That's grandparent mode.
That's grandparent mode.
Oh, when we have grandkids, I'm not just going to let them get away with murder. I'm going to help them murder.
Yeah, and then your kids are never going to let you be around them.
They will.
But I will come over. And I'm going to cook for them and bake for them and bring them goodies. And they won't let me come over either because I'll be filling them with sugar.
See, that's the thing. That's
it's
grandparent
grandparenting.
mode. It's grandparent mode.
Yeah.
So it's going to happen.
Yeah. And this did happen in our house over Christmas. We had Thomas's mom in for a Christmas 2.5-week stint. It was fabulous. And Thomas's mom is an excellent mother-in-law. I love having her around. She, for the most part, totally like stays out of our business, but just loves and has fun. And she's great.
She's a great house guest.
There was just one moment where I was correcting one of our daughters. And I wasn't even like, she wasn't even in trouble. I was just trying to explain to her, like, next time when this happens, do it this way. And your mom was like, oh, she's fine. She's fine. Just leave her alone. And I was like, I got steamy real fast.
Yeah, you did. I wasn't even around, and you came and found me, and you're like,
I was like, all right.
You're like, da 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 da. Am I right? And I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. You are right. I got your back. Like, you are right.
Because I was like, I swear I wasn't being hard on her. I was just trying to like make sure she understood the next time, to prevent this from happening the next time, this is what you would do. And anyway, it was so simple. I never had to say anything to your mom. You never had to say anything to your mom because it was a one-time incident that was so tiny. But now if that happened every day, the entire visit, I would be wanting you to have my back and to step in.
It'd be a much different story for sure. Mm-hmm. But even without having to say anything, because I don't know that was a time to say something.
I don't think it was.
But even in the moment, I let you know I had your back. Mm-hmm. Like what you're trying to do, what you're saying, what you're teaching our kids is right. But if you need to speak up, then you need to speak up on behalf of your spouse to the grandparents. You and your wife or husband are raising your children, not their grandparents. You need to stand up for your spouse when necessary. And that's the first way to show your spouse you have their back, is just stand up for them.
Mm-hmm. All right. Secondly, ask this question. This is like my favorite question.
This is my least favorite question.
This is my favorite question. How can I help you this week? Oh, I love it.
I know you do. I hate it because I know when I ask you that, there's a laundry list. It's like one of those things where you whip out the list and then you unfold it and it just rolls and rolls and rolls and rolls for miles.
Yeah. But if I ask you, how can I help you this week? What's the answer? It's almost always no.
Yeah, probably not. Yeah.
It's almost always no. But it is absolutely phenomenal to be on the other end of this question. And sometimes my girls actually will ask me this question. Even though they do it now and again, I just love like the generosity and thoughtfulness of it. It always catches me off guard, even though they do it here and there. I'm always like, oh, wow. Yes, you can help me. And here's how. But see, my love language is acts of service. Yeah. For sure.
So it was like yesterday, you were doing something. You were kind of cleaning up because things got crazy around here for Christmas.
Yeah, they do.
Well, we did presents with the kids, and then we have all these different challenges and games that you come up with. And maybe that's a podcast episode we could do sometime, is just, making Christmas, I'm trying to think of what the word is. Maybe memorable?
Spectacular.
Yeah, spectacular. That'd work. Memorable. But so it was just, for you, it was a mess. For me, it was fine. And you were cleaning up, and I came to you and said, hey, you ready to hang your picture?
Yes.
You ready to hang up your gift? And
like, meaning that he was going to help me with it.
Yeah.
It was awesome. Now, I have had times when Thomas will come and ask me this question. It's not as often, probably, as I would like, but it is really nice when it happens. And it means a lot to me because acts of service are not his love language at all. So I know if he's asking me how he can help me, he's already out of his comfort zone and really working hard to show me great, great love. So I appreciate it.
Yeah. That was actually one of the challenges for the 31 Days to a Better Marriage Challenge, is just ask your spouse how you can help them today. Mm-hmm. But when you ask your spouse how you can help them, you're showing them you have their back. You're telling them, hey, we're on the same team. But here's the catch. When they answer you with how you can help them, you have to do it, right? You can't say, how can I help you? And then they say, this is how you can help me. And you're like, nah, that's not really my thing. Like that sends the exact opposite message. That tells them, I don't have your back. So you have to follow through on it. And here's the catch. You have to do it with a good attitude. So make sure you keep these two things in mind when you ask the question. Right. Hey, how can I help you? You have to have a good attitude and you have to follow through on whatever it is they say you can help them with.
All right, number 3, affirm feelings. When your spouse is sharing how they're feeling about someone, something, or some situation, have their back by affirming their feelings. And this is something that you did even that time when I was like, your mom just told me that she's okay, but I'm frustrated. Am I wrong? And you had my back even there. You affirmed my feelings. You were like, no, that's right. You're not crazy. You're not out of line here.
Yeah, she tells you about some coworker. You're like, that crazy jerk.
Yeah.
You side with your spouse.
Yeah. Tell them, that sucks. Man, I totally get why you would feel that way. And remind them that you care about how they feel.
Wait a minute.
And they're always ready to listen.
I have to stop.
Yeah.
Did you just say sucks on the podcast?
I totally did. Because it's episode 118. I'm comfortable.
You never would have done that.
Never would have done that. I thought about this the other day. I think it was yesterday. I was thinking we should go back and listen to episode 1 together because we were so nervous.
Yeah.
And like we wrote everything out and we stayed super to script. We weren't ad-libbing at all. Now we're ridiculous and goofy and very comfortable.
But I'm just saying, as a human being, you would have never said that word before.
Yeah, you've really ruined me as a human being.
Yeah.
That's your influence on me.
But
in the past, I wouldn't have said that.
We're coming up. This is like we said. This is the last podcast episode of 22. We started this podcast at the beginning of 2020, and it wasn't it was a lot more sporadic when the episodes got out back then. It wasn't every single week like it is now. So there's not a full 150 whatever episodes. But we're coming on 3 years, which it's awesome to think about.
It is. And let me just say to all of our listeners, if you haven't shared this on your social media, share it for us because we want to get the word out that this podcast is here. We want to be able to help people. And also the more people that are listening and stuff can help us bring their side of things and their experiences to it. They can give us their episode ideas and what they'd like to hear talked about. So take a minute and just share this on your social media.
All right. Back to that sucks.
Okay. Another way to affirm your feelings is say, I totally get why you feel that way. Now, don't lie. If nothing makes sense to you, sometimes I will even say, I don't get it, but I'm listening to you and I can see why you would feel that way, even though I wouldn't feel that way or something like that. But trying to empathize with them, even if it's not exactly what you would think or feel. But remind them that you care about how they feel and that you're always ready to listen. This is a fabulous way to show someone that you have their back. And Thomas does this in a great way. If I come home and I'm all upset about something that happened, I'll say, I need to tell you what just happened. And he'll set down his phone, he'll turn off the TV, or he'll get away from his computer screens, and he will listen. I always feel like you have my back emotionally, and that is an amazing feeling.
I don't know what that's like.
Because you have no emotions. You're the Tin Man. It's
exactly.
It's hollow. Oh, for those of you who are not on YouTube but are on the podcast, that sound I just made was me knocking on Thomas's chest.
Yeah.
Hollow heart.
Yep, my hollow tin chest.
Yes.
All right. Number 4 is pick up the slack.
Oh, my.
If you want your spouse to feel like you have their back, you've got to pick up the slack. And there are going to be times in your spouse's life where they can't keep up with all their obligations that they have. And that's when their teammate comes in to pick up the slack. You come in, you pick up the slack to improve a situation by doing something that someone else has not done or not completed. Are there tasks in your spouse's life that they wish they could do, but just haven't had the time to do them? This is where you come in. Do the chore they don't have time for. Pick up the slack. If you see something that is left undone, rather than just letting it sit there, oh, well, why haven't they done the dishes? Why haven't they done this or that? Why haven't they taken out the garbage? Rather than asking those questions, maybe it's like, hey, what's going on in their life that they're so busy that they haven't had the chance to do this yet? And this is an opportunity for you to show them in that moment that you have their back. It was like, you did this for me it was yesterday.
I have no idea what you're going to say.
I was working on some stuff, and it was very early in the morning, and you had mentioned the trash. And so I'm like, oh yeah, like I'll get to that.
It's the first trash day after Christmas.
Yeah, so like we had
day.
a ton of stuff, boxes and whatever. And I was finishing up what I was doing at the computer. And while I was doing that, you went out and took care of it because you could see, hey, he's working on this.
Yep.
So let me go take care of this. And it was just one of those moments where you came back in and I was getting ready. I think I was getting ready to go do the trash. And you said, I've got it. I got it. And I was just like, oh, wow, thank you so much. Like, that was so helpful because we were, at that point, we were getting ready to run off to our next appointment.
Yeah. Yeah.
So just yesterday, you did that and showed me that you had my back.
Yeah. And there are times when I'm swamped, with painting, ladies' events, homeschooling, or whatever it is. And it can be really hard for me to keep up with cooking dinner or grocery shopping, keeping the house clean, whatever. And whenever this happens, Thomas will text me and he'll say something like, we're out of milk. So rather than being like, why have you not brought milk into this house? He's already at the store getting milk, He's like, I'm at the store getting milk. Is there anything else I can get for you? Like, do you need anything else at home? And those kinds of like picking up the slack means a lot to me because I can say, oh yeah, you know what? We need eggs and bread too. Grab those while you're there. Or sometimes he'll text me while I'm painting and he'll tell me I've got supper covered tonight. And I love it. I know I'm going to come home and everybody's going to be okay. And it makes me feel like we're a team and it shows me he's got my back.
And this just happened the other week where you were painting all day long and I texted you and I'm like, hey, what do you think about Olive Garden?
Yes. He was like, let's go out to Olive Garden tonight. And this is funny because I right away was like, oh yeah, that sounds really nice. Because I totally wanted Olive Garden. It's like one of my favorite restaurants. But at the same time, I like did not want to go anywhere. I was covered in paint. Yeah. I was really tired. But I said yes because I was like, this is really nice of him to do that.
And a little while later, it was probably an hour or two later, I called you on the phone just to see how things were progressing. And
I ran out of paint and had to go to the paint store and come back to the job. And I was really mad at myself.
So it was taking extra time.
Yeah.
So I said, well, what about pizza? Like, what if I get pizza delivered to the house instead of going out?
And we eat in our bed, I think you said, like in a date in our bedroom.
Yeah. And you had just got done talking with Catherine about the fact that you didn't want to go out anywhere, and you'd mentioned something about eating Olive Garden in bed. And I was like, perfect. I can order Olive Garden and go pick it up.
Yeah. And he did. And it was like the best night ever. We told the girls, we're having a date. Don't come in.
Yep. Don't bother us.
Don't bother us. We ate our Olive Garden in bed and
watched the movie. Watched the rom-com.
Oh yeah, that's right. It was a rom-com.
Yep.
It was very nice.
Pick something that you would really enjoy watching because you had a long, tough day.
Yeah.
You were out bringing money to provide for our family with your painting company that you have, and so it was a way that I could show you, hey, I've got your back. When you're not here able to do the things you normally do, then I will pick up the slack.
Yeah, and it's awesome. It's such a great feeling to feel that teamwork.
So, number 5 out of 7 plus a bonus. Give verbal permission to be human. Did you get that?
You may be human.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
That lets me know you have my back.
Yeah, babe.
But it's interesting how sometimes our spouse needs to be reminded it's okay to be human. And you say, what do you mean by that? I mean, you don't have to be a superhero. You don't have to be Superman. You don't have to be Superwoman. It's okay to get tired. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to treat yourself.
Treat yourself.
And sometimes the best way to show your spouse you have their back is by verbally telling them, take some rest. Mm-hmm. Or letting them go to letting go of the mistake that they made by showing grace. Offering mercy to your spouse can show them you've got their back. And maybe you're sending them a text and just letting them know you think they deserve a treat. Whatever a treat looks like to them. It may be junk food, time alone, spending a little more money on something that they want, or going out with their friends. You know, these different treats look different to every single person.
Right. And we all are human. We all need things like rest. We get tired. We need grace. We need mercy. Sometimes we need to treat yourself. But most of us don't want to indulge. We don't want to be selfish. And that's why it's so nice for our teammate to have our back and give us permission to be human and go ahead and treat ourselves or rest or accept grace. And Thomas is really good in this area as well, because there are times when I don't want to allow myself to rest. And Thomas will say, instead of doing like writing that devotional or whatever it is, like put the computer away and take a nap instead.
Yeah.
And I need to hear him say those words because I'm not going to do it otherwise most of the time. Like I need to hear him say like, it's okay. You've worked hard. Take some rest. Or he'll text me, and I love these texts. They're so sweet. When I'm out with the girls, like my girls, or out with maybe my sister or something like that, he'll text me and say, enjoy this. Take as long as you want. You deserve this. Just those verbal affirmations that it's okay to treat yourself or to rest, or it's okay that you made that mistake or whatever, can really show that you have their back.
Well, and different personality types need different things. So you are a constant go, 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 feel like you always have to be producing. I'm a lot better at knowing when I need to rest, when I need to take a break. I'm a lot better at paying attention to myself in that area. So it's very rare you have to tell me, take a rest. But you need to hear that.
Yeah.
And it's one way that I show you I've got your back, by protecting you from the crash that eventually comes if you don't rest.
Right, exactly. Okay, number 6, say yes.
Yes.
Wait, isn't it just say no?
It is not.
It is say yes. Okay, saying yes is a great way to show your spouse you have their back. If you can say yes, say yes. Unless there's a real reason to say no, say yes. For instance, okay, let me explain. If your husband says, I'd really like to take 3 hours on Saturday and watch a football game in peace and quiet, no kids, no wifey nagging in my ear. Well, hopefully your husband doesn't say that. But if he says that that's what he'd like to do on Saturday, say yes. Is there a real reason to say no to that? Probably not. So say yes. If your
This brings up a good conversation. Okay. So Saturday is the college football playoff.
Yes, I've heard recently this morning.
So, do you care if I watch it?
Yes. I mean,
you do care? Wait, what?
Do you care if I watch it? So now I say no. That was a trick.
I know.
Okay.
All right. But everybody out there, you just heard, she said, yes, I can watch it. And I can blow off all my other responsibilities and obligations and possible parties.
There is a party at the same time, but I didn't know that the game was at the same time as this party that I told you I wanted you to go to. I didn't know. Have you found out, though, if they're going to have the game on at the party?
No, because I don't really text other people at like 7 a.m. to ask if they're going to have a football game on Saturday.
Yeah, that would maybe be inappropriate. Okay, but we'll find out. Stay posted. We'll let you know what happens on Saturday.
She said yes.
But I did say yes. But yeah, so maybe your wife says, I'm so ashamed of my fingernails. I just wish I could get a manicure.
Yes.
Say yes. Yeah, say yes. I'm frustrated with how raggedy the yard looks. I just wish we could work together to spruce it up. Say yes. I heard that. Everybody else heard it too. It's recorded.
Kids, get out there and help your mother.
That's not a joke.
I send 4 girls as my proxy. They work way faster than I would.
What is the movie where it's like do 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 like that with the fingers? Oh, is it 3 fingers? No, it's 2 fingers. Where they send a person who goes instead of them.
You talking about the tribute?
Yeah, the tribute.
Hunger Games.
Yeah, Hunger Games.
I had no idea what you're doing. Like, you're
all...
like sitting there doing some strange song and holding 2 fingers in the air. I'm like, I don't know what you're trying to say.
It's been a really long time since I watched that. I've never read the books. Okay, so if there's not a good reason to say no to your spouse, then say yes, and that will help your spouse to feel like you have their back.
And here's our last one, and then we have a bonus. Do what you say you will do. Mm-hmm. Just be a person who keeps their word. If you tell your spouse that you'll have the dishes done before they get home from work, make sure you follow through with that. If you tell your spouse you're going to change the oil, make sure you take time to get that oil changed. If you say, I'll go on a date with you, and then you ignore them the whole time, you really didn't go on a date with them at all. If you tell them you'll discipline the children and then you don't, you're saying, I don't have your back. When you tell your spouse you'll do something and then you don't follow through, you're saying, you can't trust me. I don't have your back. So just be a person of your word. By being a person of your word, you're letting your spouse know, hey, I've got your back. Mm-hmm. I'm going to do what I say I'm going to do.
Yeah, and it's such a great feeling to know that when your spouse says that they're going to do something, you can count on them. It brings a sense of trust and peace and confidence in your spouse and in your relationship. And of course, the reverse is true. If your spouse doesn't follow through with the things they say they're going to do, you begin to question everything they say. You don't believe that they will do the things that they say they'll do, and you start to just do the stuff yourself or never ask them to help with anything. Before they even have a chance to make good on their promise, you already don't trust them. So make sure that you do follow through and do what you say you'll do.
Now, number 8 here. Be prepared to protect them from any harm emotionally that can come from the most surprising places. If you have someone's back, you're also protecting them. It means you don't have to worry about what's happening behind you because I'm watching your back. No one's going to sneak up behind you and hurt you. I'm here. There is such a sense of safety knowing someone is protecting you. And it's important to protect your spouse from physical harm, but it's much more than that. It's protecting them from emotional pain, protecting their reputation, protecting them from hurting themselves, and protecting them from mental harm as well. And it's one of those things where sometimes rather than having our spouse's back in this area, we're the ones who are talking bad about our spouse to other people. We're the ones who are telling the guys, we're telling the boys about the horrible thing our wife is making us do or whatever else. That's not having your spouse's back. Mm-hmm. Having your spouse's back means protecting them. That means shutting your mouth to other people, not telling them things they don't need to know. That means, not even being in that circumstance. You've got a group of friends who are all like nagging and talking bad about their spouse. Hey, that's not a situation you want to put yourself in. Mm-hmm. So rather than get involved in that, I'm going to protect my spouse, and I'm not going to be involved in this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it is like you said, it can kind of come from surprising places. Like sometimes our spouse hurts themselves, by overworking or whatever else, and sometimes we're protecting them from themselves. Now, before we close this podcast episode, I have to talk about Dusty Beasley's T-shirt. Did that feel like it came out of nowhere?
Yes, I have no idea what you're going to say right now. I am blindsided.
I know. I love that look on your face. You're like, what?
Like,
My wife is crazy.
Like, what does some other dude's T-shirt have to do with this?
Because, I was planning on preparing this podcast episode, actually a couple of months ago. I had this on the list, like the upcoming schedule. And Dusty came in to our house. They were visiting us, and he walked in, and I was like dying of laughter because of his shirt. It was
it's not Dusty Beasley.
Yeah,
it was Bobby.
Was it Bobby? No, Dusty.
Okay,
did they both have it?
They must have, because
think they both had it.
Bobby had it the other day. I know what you're gonna say. So Bobby had the same shirt.
It's Chewbacca.
Yes, and he has C-3PO on his back,
carrying the robot guy on his back, and it says, "I've got your back."
Yeah.
Right?
Yep, Bobby had that on also.
It's such a cute T-shirt. But I was laughing because, well, it's funny. But then also, I was thinking about
because you finished up with Heather at the same time I finished up with Bobby, and we were all kind of chatting a little bit, and you laughed, and you pointed at his shirt and said, I like your shirt. And that's the only reason I noticed his shirt.
Okay, I'm almost positive Dusty has that shirt too. Now I'm going to have to text Dusty, and we'll have to
Fact check.
See if my memory is off. But yes, make sure that you have your spouse's back. Could you wear that T-shirt? Yes or no? It's a real evaluation.
One of the ways you have my back is, obviously with my struggle with depression, there are times where you just ask me, how are you doing? Mm-hmm. Like, how are you doing as far as your depression and all that? Mm-hmm. And I know you're thinking about it, you're concerned. Mm-hmm. It's one of those things we're talking about. Sometimes it comes up from surprising places. But knowing that your spouse, hey, they are thinking about me, they're watching me, they have my back, and they're concerned for me, that's a big deal. So one of the things we want you to do tonight is to have a family meeting and talk about if you feel like your spouse has your back. Now, if you feel that they don't, discuss why not. And one of the things that we encourage people to do is, hey, give some positives before you hit the negative. So maybe you're talking about the fact that, hey, in this area, and this area, you do a great job of having my back.
That's 3 positives.
And then, but man, this area right here, when your mom is around, I feel like you kind of shrivel back a little bit and you leave me out there by myself. So maybe talk about those ways, how you don't have my back. Talk about all 8 ways to show your spouse you have their back, and then add some of your own to help your spouse know how they can be there for you. And as you look back over the last year, 2022, take ownership of your words and actions. If you haven't had your spouse's back this year, or maybe there's been a couple of times where you really dropped the ball and you left them wide open, apologize for that. Own that. Say, man, I know I messed up there. Our family came to visit and I just didn't have your back, and I'm sorry, and I'm going to do better. I'm going to have your back. So have that conversation with your spouse tonight.
Thanks for joining us today. Please go and subscribe to the Family Meeting Podcast from your favorite podcast provider. And if you found this information to be helpful, please share this episode on social media and invite your friends and family to listen in with you.
To find more content and information Lysandra and I provide, you can go to our website, familymeeting.org, or email us at info@familymeeting.org. If you'd like to shoot us a text or a phone call, you can do so at 904-257-3062.
And I want to invite you to join us for our next family meeting. We are going to talk about what to do if your kids are doubting God. Maybe they doubt that God loves them, that he can help them, or maybe they're doubting that God's even real. We want to talk about how to handle that next week.
Thanks for joining us today for this family meeting. Have a great week, everybody. This meeting is adjourned. All right, babe. I've got your back with this podcast.
Me too. Got your back.
Yep. I've got it.
Thank you.
So
that actually felt good. Could you just turn that into a back rub? Oh, scratches.
Okay. This is really weird on camera.
I love back scratches.
But I've got your back.
Thank
so make sure you have your spouse's back.
Yeah. Give them a back scratch. Give them a back rub. And then figuratively.
What I would be interested in the comments is to hear what are some other ways you would add to that. What are some other ways that you can have your spouse's back? Or maybe you just want to drop a comment and say, hey, this scenario happened and this is how my spouse had my back. And how did that make you feel? You know, we want to make sure that we're loving and supporting and encouraging, protecting each other. So want to take some time to do that. I'm trying to think of anything else we need to let them know before we hit off the air.
We just want to wish them Happy New Year.
Yeah.
Happy New Year. Enjoy 2022. The rest of it, there's only a few days left. Make it great. Go out with a bang.
And it is on the 1st. January 1st is the new year.
Yes, it is.
That's a Sunday. So
very good.
Start off the new year by going to church.
Oh, yeah.
If you don't have one, find one. Or we can help you find one.
Yeah.
But with that, we'll see y'all later in 2023.
Yeah.
Bye.